Uh, Public meeting for the Woburn Conservation Commission. It is August 13th, 2026. A little different in the agenda. The first thing we're going to take care of some requests for determinations. Please note that these are not under public hearings. So the first one is Janelle Rabatino. The locus is 4 Kimball Road. It's an addition to a single house. We did a site walk. I believe it was myself, Jerry, Kevin, and Jim, and we didn't see any issues other than we asked the homeowner to make a note on the plan that was submitted that we would see some erosion controls, and if stockpiling was to be done, show that as well. Is there anybody here for that? Hi. So,
I have a photo here that shows the placement of the wattles, and I know you had asked if when they excavate yes, they're going to take it away, so that's not going to sit there. Yeah.
awesome.
Janelle, can you print your name and sign in, please?
Oh.
Is there a signage?
Oh, right. Yep.
Oh, okay. Then that was Waddles?
Yep.
Thanks.
So now that we have that and we know that there is no stockpiling, I certainly think from the site walk, we didn't see any other issues. It seems pretty straightforward. So unless there is any debate, any questions you want to ask the homeowners, it would be my recommendation that we approve the RDA.
Just one question. Were we able to get the grass clippings out in the back?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Cleaned
Thank
up.
you. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to issue a -3 determination of applicability.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Terrific.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, moving on. The next one is N-Star Electric, Eversource Energy. Locus is Breed Ave to Merrimack Street, exploratory geotechnical borings and wetland delineation. Again, there was a site walk, and again, it was the same 4 people as the first one. I think most of us, I think all of us, were pretty satisfied that we did have discussion that in the more sensitive areas, there would be heavier silk socks, and one of the things we talked about is trying to keep the gates closed. So if you guys would sign in, and if there's any additional information you'd like to Stowe?
Relating to the wattles, I did look into the 18-inch, and we use biodegradable wattles, and believe it or not, industry, they don't make an 18-inch biodegradable wattle, they make 12-inch. The cotton's silt socks, but they don't make it's all polypropylene plastic, it's the 18-inch. So we'd prefer to use 12-inch, we think that's sufficient enough. It's really the access road, leading
Yeah.
around
I think we
there.
talked about 12-inch,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we were okay with the...
Okay, I just want to double check. I did
Yep.
look into the 18 and,
Yeah, I think the 12-inch would do just
12-inch.
fine.
okay.
Okay. And then around access to the boring number 21, we talked about adding additional erosion controls along the curved access to protect from off-site wetlands. So that has been added to our mapping. So that will be included as well for construction.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
No, I'm good.
I think we're good. Thank you for getting us out there and observing what we needed to see, and I think it looks good.
Yep.
Um,
Again, just kind of keep track of the gates being closed. To keep any interest as explorations going in and
On the shared access
deter
roads.
whatever we can. With that said, it would be my recommendation that we issue.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we issue the determination of applicability, and there's a couple here for us. One would be positive 2B, the determination does not confirm any jurisdictional boundaries, which we did not do.
Okay, so I'm sorry, could you repeat that just a little louder? I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry,
You're
so
okay.
it would be a positive 2B,
2B, okay.
and the determination does not confirm any jurisdictional boundaries. And then there would be a negative 5, I'm sorry. The area described in the request is subject to jurisdiction of the Act since the work described therein meets the requirements for the following exemption as specified in the Act. In the regulations, no notice of intent is required. The regulation in the Act would be 310 CMR 10.02, 2B, 2G. So.
Okay.
And then also, -6, the area and/or work described in the request is not subject to additional review and approval by the City of Woburn. That's the motion.
Relating to the wetland boundaries, we can't get those confirmed. What was the rationale for not confirming them? I think that was
Well-
mainly half the purpose of trying to go out there was to confirm the boundaries. So you guys are comfortable, with the wetlands, with the boundaries, with the buffer zones, where they extend into the project area.
Well, for one thing, there was a couple of areas, wetland areas, that weren't flagged. So we could have never confirmed them because there was no flagging there.
The offsite.
off-site wetlands.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, they were basically, I mean, off-site being that they weren't on your property.
Yeah.
Correct.
For buffer zone purposes, though, we're comfortable with the buffer zones the way they are?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we're
I
fine.
think that was more of the intent was, since they're off the right-of-way, we're trying to project the buffer zone onto the site, onto the right-of-way, so we just want to make sure we're comfortable with where that buffer zone jurisdiction was. I think that was the main purpose.
Yeah. No, I think we're going to be very comfortable with it.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
great.
And then also, I know we're not here for the project, but we provided some information packets that we can give to the commission members relating to the project, a little summary 2-pager with mapping, if that'll be helpful, moving forward as part of the project.
I'll take those.
Okay, there's 8 of them, so feel free to pass them out as needed. Thank you.
I'm up at the end. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Well, so we have to vote on the motion, right?
Sorry.
So we have a motion.
It's like, okay.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Sorry. Thanks.
Okay. All right, now that those two are out of the way, we begin the public hearings. And first on the agenda for that is the City of Woburn, locus is Presidential Way / New Boston Street. Notice of intent, DEP number 348-0903, intersection improvements. And if there is someone here to speak on that, if you would sign in and also introduce yourself to our note taker.
Yeah, Alex Ruzicki, city engineer.
And Dan Kanata, environmental scientist with VHB.
So the city of Woburn is looking to make some intersection improvements as it relates to the upcoming bridge opening in North Woburn. We're particularly located at the intersection of Presidential, what is Woburn Street in Wilmington, and New Boston Street in Woburn. As it relates to the increase in traffic, we're advising to look at a lane widening and a future potential traffic signal as the intersection and the area sort of sees more growth and more traffic. We're looking to get out there this fall and essentially moving back the existing curb line puts us within your guys' jurisdictional area. So that's sort of a basis of why we need to do this work, and I'll let Dan kind of go over the particulars of what we're looking at here.
Sure, thanks, Alex. Yeah, there are bordering vegetated wetlands on either side of Presidential Way. There's no impacts proposed in any of the resources. We are proposing erosion and sedimentation controls along the limits of work. There's a small bit of work into the 25-foot no disturb. It's a very small section of sidewalk and mostly loam and seed and installation of the erosion controls. So not a significant amount of work there. And overall, the increase in impervious surface is about 384 feet within buffer zone, so fairly de minimis over the size of this area. One other note, we did coordinate with the Wilmington Conservation Commission. They're aware of the project, but we are outside of their jurisdiction, so there's not a separate filing there.
So we have the map. I think you guys probably have the plans in front of you. If you want to see it or talk through any questions, we could do that, but I figured if you didn't need to see it, it's not that exciting. It's not as exciting as some of the other projects I've been here for. So,
I just wanted to ask, on the cover letter submitted, it mentions that portions of the project site contain portions of the 200-foot riverfront area. Is that an error?
That is an error.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we waive our 25-foot no disturb zone for the purposes of this project.
Second.
We did receive a request.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So that has been granted.
thank you.
So I had a couple of questions. The proposed clearing and thinning and grading at the corner of Presidential and New Boston, exactly what's going to be cleared out? I think, was it just one tree? It looked like one conifer maybe?
Yeah, so we're working with the property owners now that is owned by someone else, not in the city. So we don't quite have the easement and the work agreed upon yet. But what the issue is if someone now is going to pull up to New Boston from Presidential and try to take a left-hand turn towards the bridge, they have no line of sight to see the cars coming up New Boston. So we're engaging with that property owner to. It's one or two small, like ornamental landscaping kind of trees. It's nothing substantial, and it would just be sort of putting the sidewalk and grading that back out.
Okay. I did go out there today. There's a nice beech tree and a dogwood out there, and I think that they're far enough back. So.
Yeah, I was looking at sort of a smaller, medium-sized pine or something,
Yeah, okay.
evergreen that it looked like. That's really the one that I was looking at in particular. So those other ones might be further back than what we need.
Okay. If we could get protection, if we need it, I don't know, on those trees, that would be good.
Sure.
And then down in that area, And actually, related to that, so is that where the sheet flow is going to be? There was a mention of the runoff is going to be collected, up on an upland property. Is that where it's going to end up, the water running off to?
Off to that point, our project engineer isn't here tonight. I don't know exactly where she would have designed that point to, but
we're not really changing any of the drainage layout or stormwater patterns out there. It's more so moving the curb line back 5 feet, so there is an increase in impervious, but it's still generally, I think, from that area goes south down New Boston to the existing drainage system that's within the parking lot, and the city just installed a leaching basin down on New Boston Street as well. So I believe it all comes down that corner from Presidential and runs towards the bridge.
Okay. So in that area, we've been down there for, I think, we've visited the property. I think it's 131. Is that the property owner that you're talking about, New Boston?
It's the large factory on the left there, or the large warehouse. Yeah, I don't have the address offhand, but
There had been some
331.
331. That's it. I'm sorry. Pretty substantial flooding in that area. Has that been resolved? Or
Not that I'm aware of. It does look like in the back of that property they might be using some city land for parking too, near and adjacent to the wetlands, but it's not really related or part of this sort of scope of work for us.
Yeah. And there's a leaching catch basin installed? Is that?
We put one on the existing roadway, not in the back, I assume, is where they're having the water
the
issues.
flooding was actually out in the roadway.
Oh.
And this was quite a while ago.
Oh.
Probably 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we found that there's 2 existing dry wells out there. They really weren't functioning, so we cleaned those out, found that this whole area, the groundwater is really high. So we added some about 50 feet of perf pipe and put in another basin to try to control the water ponding in the road and being, an ice issue in the winter. So not sure it'll quite fix the flooding, but we did make some drainage improvements out there that was outside of the jurisdictional area.
Okay, great, thank you. I guess that's all I had. Thanks.
Anybody else from the commission have any questions or comments? Hearing none, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on the project? Hearing none, bring it back to the commission. One last opportunity for any questions or comments.
This is roadway improvements at New Boston and Presidential Streets? That's not us. Okay, great.
Hearing no other questions or comments, is it your request we close the public hearing?
That would be great. We're trying to make these improvements this fall. So.
And if I could, because our next meeting is more than 21 days from now, if the commission does close the hearing tonight, would you consent to additional time to issue the order of conditions?
I think so.
Can we have a yes?
Yes.
Sounds
Thank
like
you.
a yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Awesome.
That's it.
Thanks a lot.
thank you,
All
everyone.
right. Thanks.
Thank
Have
you
a
very
good night.
much.
All right, next on the agenda for public hearings is George Gately, locus is 10 Russell Court. It's an NRAD DEP number 348-0901, delineation of BVW, and this was continued from March 12th, 2026. So if there's anyone here to speak on it, if you would sign in and also introduce yourselves to our note taker. Thank you.
Sure. Good evening. I'm Mark Slager from Allen Engineering, and with me is Kevin
Gano, and
Gano.
with Northeastern Consultant Forestry Services.
Right. Sorry about that.
Yes.
As you recall, or may not recall, we introduced this project back in March as a request for a notice of resource area delineation. The commission has been out there at least once. Kevin has been out there several times along with the peer reviewer, and they have agreed to a delineation of both the BVW and the riverfront area. So give me a minute, I can pull up the map. You have the screen? There we go. All right, so recently I submitted the updated plan showing the riverfront area and all of the appropriate flags in blue. And then the green line is the edge of the BVW with all of the approved wetland flags. I also have their associated boundaries. This would be the 100-foot riverfront and then the 200-foot riverfront. And then I've also delineated the 25-foot no disturb, the 100-foot wetland buffer, and the local 150-foot wetland buffer. Earlier this week, we received a third review letter from the peer consultants. There are some minor comments that I already discussed with Teresa regarding the forms and the filing fees, additional filing fees that have been submitted. The original filing forms had the appropriate signatures on it, so we felt that that was adequately addressed. If there's no questions on the delineation itself, I would like to go over one final outstanding comment, which has to do with its status as an outstanding resource water. So if there's any questions here before I move on to that discussion, I'd be happy to address those.
I just have a question, not on the delineation at the moment, but on the filing fee for DEP. Was the correct amount submitted to DEP? Because I know, like, there was the original amount and then a secondary check, and
Yes.
can you confirm that it was submitted?
I confirm that I mailed the check to them.
Do you happen to know if it cleared? Have you checked that?
It wasn't my check, I don't know.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I also have one other question, and Teresa, maybe you can answer this for me, but also Form 4A, there was a signature question. Did we get that taken care of?
Are you talking about the signature for the representative?
It was, I guess the person was,
There was an amended form submitted that indicated the length of riverfront area. That amended form did not include the signatures of the applicants, and when we talked about that, you felt that it was, the original form had the appropriate signatures, but the amended form did not.
Yes, the original form has the signature of the applicant and owner, but not representative. Would you be willing to sign that right now?
Sure. Today's date already, do you want that? See revised.
Well, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine. One of the outstanding comments and a little disagreement between what I believe is an outstanding resource water and the peer reviewer. So I'd like to go through the definition of outstanding resource water. Under the Wetland Protection Act, all they do is defer to the definition of outstanding resource water in 314 CMR 4, which is the Clean Water, under the Clean Water Act. And I've highlighted the definition. It says waters designated for protection in this, which include Class A public water supplies listed in 406 1D1 and their tributaries, certain wetlands specified in 406 number 2, and certain surface waters designated in 406B6. So if we go down to the next section, 406, according to the peer reviewer in 314 CMR 406 1D1, they assert that surface waters designated as public water supplies along with their associated watershed subbasins are classified as ROWs, or ORWs, sorry. But in this definition, nowhere in here does it say that a public water supply and their entire sub-basin is considered an outstanding resource water. This is the section that defines which specific water bodies have certain classifications all throughout the state. So these are the little qualifiers and footnotes to the table that I'm going to show you next. And under 1D, you have qualifiers. And qualifiers, number 1 is public water supply, which denotes those surface waters that may be used as a source of public drinking water for a public water system defined in 310 CMR 22. They may be subject to more stringent regulation. These waters are designated for protection as outstanding resource waters. And it goes on to say that no dredge material beyond the high water mark of a Class A surface water. Under number 2, D2, it says outstanding resource waters denotes those waters that are designated for protection as outstanding resource waters under 404 number 3. And they're assigned at the discretion of the department. These are under the category of qualifiers for the following table. This is the table where Horn Pond is listed. And you can see over in the right-hand column, you see the qualifiers. For example, the Mystic River, and it tells you where in the Mystic River. Its qualifier is a shellfish. Class is an SB, but it's a CSO, which is a combined sewer outflow. And then you come down to Little River. Again, it's a B, warm water, combined sewer outflow. Horn Pond, the entire pond to the outlet in Woburn, is a Class B surface water. It's a warm water. It's got no other qualifiers. But then you go down to the very next row. It's an SA, the Bell Island Inlet. It's a shell fishing, but it's classified as an outstanding resource water. Horn Pond is not. The North Reservoir, also, it's designated a Class A. It's designated specifically as a public water supply, and it's designated as an outstanding resource water. So by these definitions, Horn Pond is not an outstanding resource water. The peer reviewer also cites a reference to the Mass GIS, and this might be a little difficult to see, but this is the Mass GIS, and this green line is the outline for the watershed for Horn Pond. Actually, it cuts here, down here. The site is somewhere over in here. All this area is supposedly a Class A or an outstanding resource water. I don't remember the commission ever holding anything to an outstanding resource water that was in this area, unless it was directly adjacent to Horn Pond, and I was never involved in any projects in that area. But I have been involved in projects that abutted some of the wetlands that ultimately go to Horn Pond. They were not classified as outstanding resource waters. The interesting part about this whole thing is, let me try and zoom in here without being able to. Our site is over here. This is Russell Street. And the curious thing is they have a watershed divide going across the middle of a brook. I've never seen that in my life. Anyone who knows anything about watersheds is they contribute water to that specific brook. So I don't know why there would be a divide in the watershed from this section of the brook, which is where our site is, down to this section of the brook. This entire pond goes into this brook, and it ultimately goes down the Shaker Glen Brook, which goes to Horn Pond. So it's kind of confusing as to why they delineated the watershed to go across that area and exclude this section of the upper section of, I don't know, Shaker Glen Brook extension and that entire wetland area when it all flows down this way and ultimately into Horn Pond. So based on what I can conclude in the definitions in 314 CMR 4, Horn Pond is, it may be or possibly could have been a public water supply at one point, but right now it's classified as a Class B. It's not classified as an outstanding resource water.
Mark, so our peer reviewer is here. Would you have any comments about that, Devin? Okay.
Yes,
Sure.
please.
Yeah, so with the table, with the definitions, unfortunately, like if Mass DEP has an ORW mapped in this specific area, my recommendation would be that Mass DEP provide some sort of written documentation to them, either saying there's an error in the mapping or that the site is not within an outstanding resource water, because right now it's mapped as such. So there's nothing really I can do to change that mapping, and it seems like if that applicant wants to pursue that, then I would recommend it. Other than that, if they don't want to pursue it, obviously my recommendation to the commission is that you would, in an ORAD, make a fact of finding that there is a mapped outstanding resource water on site. Obviously, any future applications that are presented and submitted to the commission would have to, make sure that the performance standards are met with relation to that resource area. So that's just my 2 cents. And for the record, I didn't mention my name, Devin Taper from Lucas Environmental.
Devin, could you, I'm sorry, could you print in there your name?
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry, if you could just for a second, thank you for your explanation. I was listening very closely, Mark. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm just trying to make sure I heard her correctly. I understand that she's suggesting a route of getting an error, something in writing about an error in mapping or the ORW stands and what. But I didn't hear exactly, who do you think should write that letter?
DEP is not going to respond to an open filing. I've had this question come up on other topics where there's been a little bit of confusion on certain things, and I've requested information from DEP. In fact, I've had other Conservation Commission agents request information and guidance from DEP, and they will not offer an opinion on an open filing because it jeopardizes either party's ability to file an appeal. So what they will do...
Thought, if your stance says, the recommendation is go to DEP. Your response is they're not going to respond to it. Do you have a suggested fix, a route to mitigate? What's the route then? What do we do?
Well, I was just handed something regarding the Where was this taken from?
That's from the mass layers. That's the overview of that layer from Mass GIS.
Mass GIS data, outstanding resource waters. Data layer delineates areas in which certain waters are afforded outstanding resource water protection. Certain waters are designated for protection under the provision 314-406. And then it says, it's important to note first that the areas delineated in this data layer are not themselves ORWs. And second, that only certain waters within the delineated areas are ORWs. Additionally, while the WQS designate Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife as ORWs, certified vernal pools are not included in this data layer. Further, there may be areas not shown in this data layer that contain ORWs. So what that says is that they have an outline, a polygon outline of what they believe contains ORWs, but not everything within that is an ORW. So basically, they delineated what they believed is the sub-basin to Horn Pond. But they don't specifically say that that is, by definition, the delineation of the entire ORW, because that would include 3/4 of Woburn. So this is the footnote to the Mass GIS website where that ORW is delineated.
So, so we're just supposed to guess as to what, like, as you said,
No, I don't believe there's any guesswork. I mean, the polygon that's shown on the GIS is basically it's an indication that you have to look within that area to see if you're affecting any ORWs. So what we're doing is looking at, rather than in the big picture of, okay, there's something in here, let's look at this area and look at the definition of ORW. And when you look at the definition of ORW and Horn Pond classification, it's pretty clear that Horn Pond is not an ORW, neither is its tributary. So, and again, if you look at the definition in 4061D, there's nothing in there that says an entire sub-basin is an ORW, or that all of the wetlands in an entire sub-basin of an ORW are themselves ORWs.
Mike, if I could just for a second, it's unfair. We're going to make a decision on what we think, no matter what happens in Stoneham, Winchester, whatever like that. That's what we do, right? We have to make a decision on what we think. But I'm going to ask you the question. Have you seen this ever happen before anywhere?
No.
Oh, geez. Thank you.
If I could, Mr. Chairman. So I did, after reading the peer review letter, I did go back and look at Mass Mapper, and I do agree that it is designated as an ORW, a portion of the site. And my recommendation to the commission would be to note that in the ORAD. Having said that, if it's your wish to continue the public hearing and provide additional information, you could certainly do that, and the commission could look at whatever you submit on that.
Well, I think the way that, if we go forward with this, not the entire site is delineated within that polygon. So going forward, and this is where it doesn't make sense, because if I design something where the discharge is outside that ORW, it goes around the corner, then goes into the ORW, I don't have to meet the same stringent standards as if I'm discharging directly into the ORW, which makes no sense at all. But that's the direction I would take. So it's basically a treatment standard for stormwater management. It's a higher level of treatment that's required when you discharge to an ORW. So if the commission feels that it's appropriate to delineate that as an ORW in spite of the information I presented tonight, then it's certainly your prerogative, and I can either accept it or we can appeal that decision to DEP and see what they say.
and didn't you say that you could work your way around that stormwater management by,
Potentially.
okay, so.
But I think to be accurate, you could follow the definition of an ORW and make the determination that it's not, based on all of the criteria provided in 314.4 and all of the documentation in 314.4. And in light of the fact that the disclaimer on all of the Mass Mapper website indicates that there are areas in that area that may not be ORWs.
May not be. Which ones are and which ones aren't,
Some of them are, some of them aren't, and in this case, it's not. So there may be some that are.
How do you know that, where is it saying that this property is not in an ORW?
Where is it saying?
Yeah, where is it shown on the map that
It's not shown on a map that, well, it shows on the map that half of the site is, or a third of the site is within the ORW polygon. It doesn't mean that, the upland areas clearly aren't. But that's what the map shows. And it's showing that within that area, limitations, I don't know, this was just handed to me, so I'm not, I guess it just says it's important to note first that the areas delineated in this data layer are not themselves ORWs. And second, that only certain waters within the delineated areas are ORWs. So it doesn't mean that that particular area is an ORW.
You do have a perennial stream, you do have a tributary in that area, so, with regards to the mapping, my suggestion still is to go either ask DEP to get a modification or exemption that the mapping on Mass GIS is incorrect, or more or less it would be the commission's responsibility to make sure that's noted in the ORAD.
Yeah, except that in 314 CMR 4, ORWs are limited to Class A water supplies and their tributaries, not Class B. And Horn Pond is specifically noted as not being an ORW. So therefore, the tributary to Horn Pond would not be an ORW. So that's the way I read that regulation.
I think I have a hard time going, I understand what you're saying. I just have a hard time going against what the GIS mapping is telling me.
Well, I think you just have to, it's hard to explain. Yeah, the mapping isn't always accurate. In this case, I question why they cut off the limit of the ORW halfway up the stream.
I agree.
That doesn't make sense at all.
Right.
So
maybe they should add the part that's not included.
Or maybe they should be a little more specific when they delineate the ORWs.
Absolutely, I agree.
When we don't know what the source of that is, how old that is, when was the last time Horn Pond was used as an active public water supply? Is it now? We don't know. I don't know. Maybe anybody who has some historical information on Horn Pond may know, but I've come across rare cases, not necessarily with Mass GIS, but with other websites where old data is carried through and it doesn't get corrected until somebody notices it. It happens. I'm not saying that's the case in this specific case, but when I look at all of the definitions where the Wetland Protection Act points to this specific regulation as far as defining an ORW, it doesn't point to Mass Mapper as far as determining what the delineation of an ORW is. It points to this specific regulation. And this specific regulation, in my opinion, clearly states that Horn Pond is a Class B warm water, not an outstanding resource water. So, and the Wetland Protection Act doesn't point to the delineation on the GIS system.
But that's all that we have to go by, right? That's our tool to determine.
No, your tools are everything that's provided to you.
All right, yeah.
But your tool isn't solely Mass Mapper and the GIS system. You have to take everything into consideration, including the footnote that says that everything in this is not an ORW. It's not all-inclusive.
I get that everything isn't, but what if this is and across the street is, you know what I mean? It shouldn't be that across the street is or your property is and across the street isn't. I mean, that doesn't make any sense at all either. But how do we know which portions of it are and which aren't? I mean, all we have to go by is the polygon, I guess. That's kind of
Well,
my thinking on it, and we've gotten that recommendation from our peer reviewer as well. So,
well, I mean,
Mark, if I may, I think I would tend to agree with Jerry in terms of what he said. I think I need more evidence from you as to why we shouldn't consider. And I think the best suggestion that I've heard so far is from our administrator, and that maybe we do a continuance, give you more opportunity to find more evidence to convince us that that's the way we should go and not go the other way. Because right now, having read the response, number 2, both from Alan and from Lucas, I would tend to support what our peer reviewer is telling us.
well, I would point out that there is an error in the comment, in that they say according to 406 1D1, surface water sources designated as public water supplies along with their associated watershed subbasins are classified as ORW, but nowhere in that section of 406 does it say that.
It does in 314 CMR 4.043.
043.
Yes.
But it's
So
not
it
a
must have
public.
been
But it's,
must have been just a,
okay.
yeah. I mean, alternatively, I think, depending on, you and your client, how you proceed is if you don't want to continue, then the commission would make a finding that a portion of the site is within an ORW, and you can overcome that in a future filing. But that's just a suggestion as well, trying to come up with a solution for you.
Yeah, I don't think a continuation is going to do me any. I don't know what more information I could provide.
Well, it would be something from Mass DEP, and with regards to, you're in Woburn, their office is here, Northeast region. Alicia Galen, Pam Merrill, someone from the Wetlands Department can probably provide some sort of information for you if you wanted to exhaust it. But that's
I've
another
reached
suggestion.
out to them on many different times, and
No luck.
they refuse to offer an opinion on an ongoing filing.
So Mark, if I could, I asked you a question earlier, and you answered. It was asked and answered. I said, have you ever run into this before? But I realized as I'm sitting and going back and forth, I didn't ask you the same question.
No,
You've never run into this before. So this has never happened before.
no, not with me. But I can't speak to my colleagues.
That doesn't help
Speak
us.
for my colleagues. Yeah.
All right.
On the comment,
We should feel honored then. Right?
Oh, yeah. Special.
on what he said prior to that, then if we were to close with that stipulation and then he appeals, is that a very timely thing?
No,
Because
not
it
at
sounds
all.
like we're not going to get an answer from them while it's open, unless, I did want to ask, is it possible for us as a commission to reach out to them and ask
No,
the same?
I think, well, if you wanted to reach out, if you wanted me to reach out to DEP, I'd be happy to do so, but then we're continuing the hearing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that if the commission issues a ORAD and notes that the finding that it's an outstanding resource, water, and the applicant would like to appeal to DEP, they could absolutely do that, and then we would have a final answer. I mean, that would,
I'm just
I
wondering if
mean,
we can get that
I wouldn't
answer
imagine that the
without...
commission,
I do have another solution, though. You can specifically state in your order that you're not making a determination as to whether the status of an ORW and that any future filing shall make that determination. That would give you the ability to pursue input from DEP or have me pursue input from DEP to make a final determination, and then if and when we file a notice of intent for any future work on the site, we can take that into consideration at that time.
So you're saying that that particular part of this is not going to affect what the file is for?
No.
And then if
If
would
the
take
delineation, if the wetland boundaries are approved, but you don't necessarily have to make a determination at this point whether or not it's an ORW, but if there's going to be any work that discharges stormwater into the wetland in that area, then at that point, you would need to make a determination as to whether or not we're discharging into an ORW.
Can I just ask a question of you, Devin?
Yes.
How does, say if we didn't have, and we do have an attachment to the determination, and it was, and the note is, a portion of the property is located within an outstanding resource water identified as public water supply watershed associated with Horn Pond. Is that a problem, Mark, for you to have that in the...
Could you repeat that?
A portion of the property is located within an outstanding resource water identified as public water supply associated with Horn Pond.
I mean, that's basically making a determination that it is in fact an ORW.
Okay.
Whereas
so,
if you leave that section out, you can defer that determination to when, if and when a notice of intent is filed later on. Because
Devin,
anything that's going to, that would trigger the need for that classification would require a subsequent filing anyway.
So Devin, what if we were to leave it out, and then if a notice of intent is filed?
can I make, I'm sorry to interrupt, but could I make another suggestion, a slight change to the language? To say a portion of the property is shown on Mass Mapper as being located within an outstanding resource water, ORW, identified as public water supply watershed associated with Horn Pond. I mean, that's a statement of fact. It's shown on Mass Mapper. It's not saying the commission
Rather than
finds,
say outstanding resource
but that
water.
is what it's shown as, though.
Well, in the legend, it's shown as the drainage sub-basin to Horn Pond.
Well, when I go onto Mass Mapper and I check the layer for ORW, it shows it as that. So that's what, I mean, I think that's a fair statement. And that would be my recommendation to the commission. But I would also ask our peer reviewer if that seems reasonable.
I think that's reasonable. I'm obviously here to make sure you guys are comfortable with your order. That's my job. So, I mean, with it being mapped, I think it's important, but I also can see where Mark is coming from, where the commission could not make a determination on that. It's really up to the commission's comfortability.
I feel like if we don't make that determination, we have it
like
in the back of our minds that when and if a notice of intent is provided or
submitted. Yep,
Thank
you're
you.
good.
When and if that happens, then we go back to the outstanding resource water question, because it is mapped, and we'll be asking that question.
Yep.
And we're going to want to know if it is or if it isn't.
Isn't that going to cause the same issue where we now have another open filing and they're not going to respond to that
Well,
question.
there's going to be, hopefully there'll be some time in between to do some due diligence
That-
here.
that's
Yeah,
it. That would have to
once
be
this
brought
is-
up while there's no open filing,
Yeah.
it sounds like.
Trying to think.
I mean, it's not just going to go away.
No, it's not going to go away. I'm just trying to see if there's a way that I'm not locked into any language that implies that it's an ORW.
If we were to
If
leave
we're
it
saying
out,
that it's mapped as an ORW, then
But it is mapped as an ORW. I mean,
mapped
that's,
as a sub-basin to Horn Pond. It's not mapped as an ORW according to the footnote.
well, I disagree with you. I disagree with you based on what I've seen on Mass Mapper.
Even
That
that
means
note that specific,
Three-quarters of the town is within an ORW.
That's what it's mapped as. I didn't create the map. I didn't do the map, but that is what it's shown as on Mass Mapper. And I think to reference Mass Mapper is referencing where the source is. I do agree that you still would have the opportunity to overcome that and get more information from the department as to how that data layer was created and what their backup information is. I think that's reasonable to pursue.
Okay.
I mean, that's my opinion.
I think I've said all I can to try and change your mind, but, you know, it's your prerogative to provide us with an order, and we can either accept it or appeal it, in which case we'll very likely accept it, and, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So I guess at this point, it's my request that we close the public hearing.
I move to close the public hearing.
Before we do that, it is a public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Please step forward, identify yourself, sign in.
The boss already signed me in. Get over here. Richard D. Simone, Nancy D. Simone, 6 Stonewall Drive, Woburn, Mass. Been here since for 42 years.
No, 62.
I'm sorry, 62 years.
I sent a letter in explaining what we're concerned about, and they said that they were going to record it. I don't know if it got recorded or not. But we live directly across the street from this property, and we call it a brook that runs between my house and the house next door. And for years, we had flooding and all kinds of problems with that water. Because when it rains, it overflows and goes into our house. He has done a lot of work to build up on the sides of this thing with loom that we've brought in to keep it so that it's not causing a problem for us anymore. My main concern, and so is his, is that they're gonna touch this brook. You call it a river, I call it a brook. And they're gonna reroute it somewhere, and it's gonna back up, and it's gonna cause more problems.
Can I just stop you? What we're talking about this evening is just, we're delineating where streams are, where wetlands are. We're not talking about any work on the site right now. I mean, I assume that in the coming months that there will be something proposed, but for this purpose, we're just determining where the stream is, where the wetlands are, and that's it.
Well, it's been wetlands all this
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
years.
right.
You know, we're on the cusp of it, and I'm concerned, he's concerned, our neighbors on either side are concerned, because our backyards used to just flood. We needed a canoe at one point to get around.
Yep.
So it's, they want to build over there. I don't care, just don't touch any of my stuff.
I don't believe they'll be touching any of the streams and the wetland, you know what I mean? And I don't, we don't know what's being proposed at all. Have no idea. There'll be another hearing. I'm sure you'd like to attend that because you'll have a
Okay.
better idea of what's going on.
All right, do you have
On the-
anything else to say?
Just that, I would suggest that some solid information be passed out when you do something, because we didn't understand 90% of what went on today.
Right.
Well, in a nutshell, what is happening is they have obviously a lot of land, and on that land are some resources. And it's their request that we approve what they think are resource areas, where they are, and what laws control those things. We have right now a slight disagreement as to what those are. The ultimate result is whichever way it goes will determine if in the future they want to build what they can or cannot build. So it's like putting out the ground control right now as to what they can do, determined by the stream and the resources and everything that is out there. And once those things have been established, either what we're asking for or what they're asking for will determine at some point if they want to build what they can build.
Okay. All right, because I know that back 62 years ago, there's a body of water up the street on Stonewall Drive, and that is where that brook flows from. And it actually went through our house when they were ready to build it, and the contractor moved it so that they could get our house put on there.
Couldn't do that today.
That's why I chuckled.
Excuse me?
Couldn't do that today.
Right.
Well, they did it.
Well, they did it.
And, so that's what made me get concerned when they said they were trying to figure out where the wetlands were. Are they gonna move this thing and cause more problems? 'Cause
Absolutely not.
we've been there 62 years and it's, we don't want any problems.
Right.
Right.
And
And that's our job, to help protect you and your property, and that's what we're here for.
Okay. And is there any way of them notifying what they're doing, or is it just coming through you people?
If in fact there is an application and a submittal, you will be notified. I believe you'll be notified. What number? Stonewall?
6 Stonewall.
Right across the street?
Directly across the
Yeah,
street.
you will be notified about exactly what the project is.
Did you get a notification for tonight's meeting? That there was a?
No, I didn't. No.
They were notified of the filing initially.
At the time it started?
Yes.
I
Okay.
found it online.
Yes.
Okay. And then you got it when it started, and this started quite a while ago.
Well, the first letter we received just said that there was a hearing, and there were no specifics or anything that went with it. And so I started making a few calls, and they said all they want to do is find out where the wetlands are. And it made me crazy, because I said, it's all wetlands over there, I know it is. And Murray, I believe, bought the property up on Todd and Gettysburg and all that. And this was still part of that he bought. And he obviously didn't want it because it was not buildable. So all of a sudden, I don't care if they build over there, just don't touch my brook.
If and when they do another filing for some type of work, you will get notified because you are in a butter, so.
Okay.
And that should give you the date of the meeting, I believe.
Actually, it will not.
No,
It
it
will
doesn't-
tell them that there's a filing.
Okay, so it
That's what's-
doesn't give them
No,
the
what's
date.
required is that they get a
Sorry about that.
notification that there's a filing with the Conservation Commission, and then where they can learn about
Okay.
the date and time of the hearing.
Okay.
So right now, it's posted,
And city
rather,
website.
there's a meeting notice that gets posted, and then also legal notice, but also reaching out to us in the office.
Okay, and do you know if that letter that I sent was posted anywhere?
The letter that you sent was distributed to the Conservation Commission members. It was dated April 7th of this year.
So it is there, it is there.
The commission members all received it, yes.
You might want to, if there is another filing, you might want to resubmit a similar letter for your concerns for that particular group of work,
Okay,
if it's
all right,
applied.
so we will be notified.
Yes.
All right, sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Anybody else in the audience? Seeing none, I will bring it back to the commission. One last opportunity for questions or discussions. We have a request from the applicant, unless he's changed his mind, to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
No, I think we've continued it enough.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Mr. Chairman, I move the commission issue an order of resource area delineation. The delineation would be, we check box B, modified, the boundaries described in the plans referenced above as modified by the Conservation Commission and the plans contained in the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation are accurately drawn for the following resource areas: bordering vegetated wetlands and other resource areas specifically, and so we're going to have an attachment to the order. The attachment says findings listed herein are pursuant to the City of Woburn's Wetlands Protection Ordinance and the regulations for the administration of the ordinance in Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and its implementing regulations. The Commission finds that the approved resource areas are area boundaries are strictly limited to the field verified during the peer review process. Only the following series of jurisdictional wetland resource areas have been confirmed as part of the ORAD. A, bordering vegetated wetland flag series as shown on the plan referenced herein as labeled as edge of wetland. Mean annual high water bank to an unnamed perennial stream. BF series as shown on the plan referenced herein and labeled edge of river. C, associated riverfront area measured 200 feet from mean annual high water, shown on the plan referenced herein and labeled as 200-foot riverfront zone. Additional notes: a portion of the property is shown on Mass Mapper as being located within an outstanding resource water identified public water supply watershed associated with Horn Pond. The Commission finds that the property exists distinct microtopographic features, mounds, berms, fill piles, ditches, etc., that influence localized hydrology and may impact overall site drainage. Consequently, any future permitting plans including but not limited to any subsequent notice of intent submittals for this property must graphically reconcile these features. All future submittals shall clearly depict these microtopographical variations using detailed spot elevations, break lines, and explicit topographic labels to ensure an accurate verified representation of the existing grade and runoff patterns. And lastly, the Commission finds the plan referenced herein depicts the outermost boundary of the 150-foot buffer zone. The 150-foot buffer zone to bank lies within the 150-foot buffer zone to BVW and therefore is not shown on the plan. That's the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
The ayes carry.
Terrific, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A great big thank you to Lucas.
Thank you very much. Yes, enjoy the rest of your evening.
Appreciate it.
Jerry, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I do.
Thank you.
Oh, you guys have to sign.
Blew the over-under.
I'm just taking
was interesting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, I have a couple of procedural things to do. Still under public hearings, we have 83 Commerce Way LLC, TJX Company, Locus 83 Commerce Way, notice of intent, DP number 348-0871, for bridges, driveway, and access improvements, and we have a request to continue this public hearing to September 10th, 2026 at 6 p.m.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Moving on, we have Russell Remodeling and Restoration. Locus is 146 Burlington Street. Notice of intent, DP number 348-0902 for a single-family house, ADU. And again, we, excuse me, we have a request to continue the public hearing to September 10, 2026 at 6 p.m.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Terrific. Moving on, we have an informal discussion, David Clinch, on behalf of Eversource, mitigation replanting status associated with Woburn to Wakefield Line Project, DP number 348-0782, and appropriate actions to finalize the mitigation work for the project closeout. So if you guys haven't already signed in, if you would sign in and just state your name for our note taker, that would be great.
Thank you. My name is David Clinch. It's Klinch. I work for Epsilon Associates. And I'm here with Paulina Safran, Safran, and she's a representative from Eversource's environmental group. Appreciate you having us in tonight. This will be much easier, I promise, than what you just went through. As a wetland scientist for 34 years, my mind was fried a little bit by that discussion, so I'm assuming everyone was as confused as me. In any case, what we're here tonight to ask for is simply an opinion and to have an open discussion. I came before you as far back as 2015 on this project. Ultimately, I think our filing was 2017 or 18. It's been quite some time. The project, as you're aware, is the underground 345 kV electric transmission line project that extends from Montrose Avenue in Wakefield up to the Station 211, the large substation next to Horn Pond. That project was an underground transmission line project. It required the issuance of an order of conditions for several reasons, not the least of which was passing through bordering land subject to flooding, riverfront area, buffer zone. However, it was contained largely within roadways. There is only one location where it's not in a roadway, and that is the crossing of the Aberjona River on Montville Ave. Some of you may be aware, we learned this during the planning of this project back around 2014, that the culvert that contains the Aberjona River on Montville Ave is pile supported. Much of the area of Montville Ave was a marsh. In fact, it was a tidal marsh not too far downstream, and of course that's changed a whole lot in the last 100 years. Because that culvert is pile supported, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of timber piles driven in below Montville Ave to support the culvert. MassDOT and the city and Eversource and Star at the time were not going to propose to try and bore through that pile field. It wouldn't make any sense. So we pushed the cable aside. We pushed it aside just off the edge of the road and advanced the cable underneath the Aberjona River using a horizontal directional drill process. By doing so, we had no direct alteration of the river, of the banks. In no part of this project was there an alteration really of any other undeveloped land, vegetation removal. It's under the road. But in that one location, and the photo I've got up now shows what it looks like as of May of this year, that was forested. It was fully scrub, brush, and trees. And that is the only place on the project where it went through a somewhat naturalized environment. Now, I say naturalized, but as you're probably aware, it was a pretty urban site. There was a lot of debris. The contractor for Eversource took out huge amounts of metal, car parts, old fencing, piles of former pavement that had been dumped on this site, removed all that, and they removed trees and shrubs. Of the trees and shrubs they removed, it was tree of heaven, crabapple, box elder, staghorn sumac, glossy buckthorn. There were a couple of crab apples in there. The only species I would say is sort of, it's not native, but it's a naturalized species. There were three northern catalpas that grew in there. To offset the loss of those species, Eversource proposed a planting plan in this area. And in addition to planting trees and shrubs, a total number of about 158 were committed to. They also applied a native restoration seed. Today, the site looks, I think, pretty good. It's incredibly stable. The invasive species that were removed have not come back. However, at the time of planting, we proposed to provide 2.5 to 1 plantings for the species removed. And that area is perhaps 3 times the size of this room. There was no way we could fit in those plantings at a reasonable scale, and we also couldn't plant on top of the high voltage electric line. So I reached out to Teresa. She was very helpful and helped us identify an alternative planting site, and that's the Shaker Glen Conservation Area off of Lexington Street. So actually the majority of the plantings went there. Perhaps a quarter of them went here, or maybe 30%. The remainder of them were put into Shaker Glen. We provided to the commission, and I did submit to the PAC just yesterday, but I submitted to the commission a monitoring report for 2025 monitoring, along with sort of the history of our original planting plan, the mapping for the planting, the list of species, things of that nature. It's will put you to sleep if you want to go through it. But we did all this work in 2024 to plant. And at the time, things went great. We planted at Shaker Glen. We found a really nice space in Shaker Glen. There is another Eversource transmission line at Shaker Glen. We planted off to the side of that. Up against the wood line, we planted fruit-bearing trees and shrubs. Things went pretty well. We started to monitor it in 2025, 2023, 4, 5, 6. We were in a drought. It's been in a drought. It's been some tough years. I have monitoring sites across all of Massachusetts, and there have been some sites that have required a lot of replanting. We monitored Shaker Glen, and we had about 65% survival, and we replaced those. So we yanked out the ones that hadn't survived last year, and we replaced every one of them. Went back this year, and that's a photo package I've provided that shows what it looks like this year. You know, we lost a few, but most of them held up pretty well. The struggle that we have, and the reason I'm here tonight, is you don't see any trees or shrubs there, and there's a reason for it. They didn't die in the spring of last year. They were looking great. We went out, we took our first round of photos, and everything looked good. And this is hard for me to say because I've got a lot of time invested in this project, but about a month later, MassDOT just clear-cut the whole damn thing. That is, as you're aware, or probably aware, it's right across the street from McDonald's, and it's at the intersection of Montvale Ave and the I-93 exit ramp. It is MassDOT property. Eversource Energy does have an easement for that property to allow the cable to go right through it. We also thought that would allow us to plant and not have those plants cut, but they did cut it. Sometimes the left hand doesn't speak to the right. The people at MassDOT we work with and permit with and have worked with right in Arlington my whole career aren't the same people that maintain things. And they said, we can't let this be planted because it's a line of sight issue coming off 93. Now you may be asking, well, it was forested. for all of our lives, and nevertheless, that is, Eversource pleaded with MassDOT to say, stop cutting, allow the stump sprouts, which still have some life in them, to regrow. They'll come back. They refuse at this point. So it is a non-option for us to replant here. Now, I will say, again, the plants that we took out were 90+% invasive. They haven't grown back. The site is fully stable and vegetated. At the far end of what you see on that photo, there's a hillside that goes down, and it goes right down to the Aberjona. You don't see any erosion. It's been pretty well cleaned up, and I think that's in a pretty solid shape. However, 10 plus years after this project started, I'm here looking to work with my colleagues and with Plena to file a request for a certificate of compliance. I want to close this out before I retire. And I was uncomfortable with simply filing saying, well, it looks pretty good, but it's not perfect. I am here to request your opinion on the status of this. Here's a photo of Shaker Glen, sort of shows you what it looks like. You've got a decent spread of different types of shrubs and trees, from cedars to blueberries to shadbush. You can walk out there and see them along the walking path. You'll see some, like the one in the foreground. The upper part of it died, but the bottom part still got good life in it. And other ones, a little bit of deer browse on the cedar, but for the most part, pretty solid, nice looking pines. They're in okay shape. We did plant, I think, 10 more than we had to just to account for some loss. But I'll stop talking because I've been talking a lot. I'm seeking your opinion on guidance on moving forward, whether you'll accept this as it is. Understanding that the situation in both sites are much better. We have many more living plant woody species than we took out. Ultimately don't meet the full 2.5 to 1 ratio because of the trees lost at Montvale Ave. But wanted to put it in front of you and request your guidance on this topic.
Well, my first question is, I want to know your secret, how you beat the invasives. How did they not come back? Because typically the invasives that we deal with, they're impossible to get rid of.
Yes, sir, and that's completely understandable. And in this case, there isn't a real secret. I would say the answer is complete removal of every bit of the plant material. So when we talked about the tree of heaven, which, as you're aware, is the host species for the spotted lanternfly, I live in Rutland, Mass. I'm on the Conservation Commission there on our land trust, and I'm battling it because it's come north from Worcester. To be able to kill it requires cutting and multiple years of herbicide application, and the only other choice is to do what we did here, which was to do it with a bulldozer. This was all of the topsoil was stripped, all of the stumps were popped out and removed, and good quality material soil was put back because there was no good soil there. It was debris and glass and metal and just junk. So we put in good quality soil, and that did allow for the herbaceous species to take off. But I'm sympathetic. It's near impossible.
So you're asking for photo 9, the Montvale Ave. Our opinion is to not do any more planting?
Well, it is my request to seek your opinion there, simply because I do feel it is a fully restored and much nicer than it was before site. But we're also honest folks here. We're not going to try and come at you and say every single shrub and tree we planted is alive. It's not. They were cut down now, I think, on 2 different occasions by MassDOT. They will likely continue to mow that in perpetuity.
I was going to say, and that's going to continue, correct? It sounds like, okay.
Yes, sir.
I don't know, how can we, ask them to plant more if they are going to keep cutting them?
Yeah. I find it
unless we
interesting that that line of sight issue, maybe half of it, maybe at the most, would constitute line of sight issues, but I understand. I mean, if they're going to cut it, they're going to cut it. I mean,
I think people who cut like to cut. I mean, when you get a job, I mean, I lived in Woburn for 7 or 8 years after college. That exit ramp, I took it every day. It's looking right. I mean, there's no line of sight concern. You're not looking for traffic when you're taking a right. You don't care what's on the right. You care what's on the left. And there is not a tree within sight from there to Bickford's or to Stoneham, for that matter. But that's their argument.
Is that the northbound exit going on to Montvale Ave, the northbound lane exiting onto Montvale Ave right next to that?
Southbound lane.
I mean the southbound, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Southbound.
And
That's my
again,
other
it's,
question.
it's,
If you were to plant in there, actually twofold, what types of plants and how would the planting be done? Because if we're talking about maybe getting in some trees that have sizable ball roots, and you need equipment to get in there to do digging, I see that being more disruptive than just leaving it alone.
And plus, you can't go near the conduit.
Right.
There's restrictions.
Yeah, I would suggest that this site is not now suitable for the installation of woody species. You've got good solid herbaceous growth. It's chest high right now if you were to go out there, but given the commitment of MassDOT to continue to cut, if there were to need to be planting, it would need to be in another location.
yeah, I mean, I think that looks pretty nice, as compared to what it was before you went in and, did anything there. So I'm okay with that. I was curious about the, up on, off of Lexington Street, what percentage of the, say you said about 60% initially, and then you went back and took out the dead ones. Where are we at now, at 80 maybe or something?
That's a good question, and that would be about my estimate. We got 65%. We replaced every one plus a couple extras. I personally went out there because I wanted to see it before I came here. When we spoke, Teresa, that was a month ago or so. And I mean, there's probably 10 of them that have no livelihood in their upper parts. They may or may not be suitable in their lower parts. But that is, probably more than 80% remaining there are live and viable. And it is open to walk. I find it very interesting when we're out there planting and monitoring. The residents there are, I don't know if that's a retirement community or over 55.
No?
Somewhat, not really.
Okay. I mean, I was swarmed. We had the most interested group of folks. They followed us and the planters around, asking every kind of question you could possibly ask. We agreed. We did knock down a couple of autumn olive that were growing out there that were getting under the skin of some of the locals. There are some more out there actually growing, but they're distant from the planting area. So there's a lot of discussion with the group out there about that.
I was going to ask, because I know the group up there, they have a landscape committee, and I believe they've been through us before for requests to do some cutting of shrubs or whatever, and I'm curious if they've been after any of what you did.
They've done more planting out there, not close to our planting site specifically, but in different areas along their mode trail.
Yeah, because I know the area near the head of the trail going into the Shaker Glen was a concern, and I don't know what, if any, clearing did get done there or not. I don't recall, but
It's an interesting site. There's some
yeah, I
really nice
recognize one of
wildlife being as urban as it is out there.
I recognize one of the trail markers was a Eagle Scout project that you have in one of your photos.
There are some signs out there, some signage on conservation area, do not cut, and so it's grown up quite a bit. We wanted to ensure that when other maintenance work got done there, especially with the fear of what happened at Montvale, that we preserved and protected the areas just outside of the trail. So the trail remains mowed, and we didn't plant in the trail, of course. We planted on either side. The trail remains mowed. The rest is growing up. Some of it's near waist high in some areas.
David, do you feel like you've satisfied your obligation to the commission, and it seems like you have, and maybe overdone it a little bit to ensure that you had satisfied the obligation?
I feel satisfied personally insofar as if we were to discount needing to replant for the removal of Tree of Heaven, we certainly have a large multiplier of when we talk about things like there was some Devil's Walking Stick out there. There was even the rose. Multiflora rose is invasive, but it provides meaningful habitat value. But the catalpa, at that point, if we say what the dozen or so nicer species, we probably have a 10-to-1 ratio of living species remaining, offsetting those species.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, we wanted to make sure we're overplanting, because we know in urban areas, especially in areas with bad soil, you're going to lose some. We did have a commitment to a warranty, and that warranty was expressed in replanting those last year, and the majority of them have stayed live and are viable. Some are, slow growing, and others have shot up pretty quickly.
Right.
Some of the red chokeberry out there has shot up really fast.
Yeah, great.
They do look, they stick out, it looks good.
Is what's shown here, is this basically the seed mix that was put down?
There is, though. You're starting to get some things that have popped up. There's, I guess it's hard to see there, but there's some raspberry and blackberry that's grown in over here. There's a couple of pines that have come in off the edge. What you're looking at right there is a few staghorn sumac, which is a good native species. We like sumac. There's nothing wrong
Not
with
tree of heaven?
That's not tree of heaven, thankfully.
good.
I believe, from what I saw and going back into here, the tree of heaven is fundamentally gone. There were some monstrous, really big 15-inch tree of heaven right up against the bridge abutment.
Oh, wow.
I forget what that business was. That restaurant has changed in the hotel so many times. But when it was, I guess it was the Irish pub restaurant.
Sam Walker's.
That's it. They had some on their side of the property too, and they were pruning them. But when they redid that area, re-landscaped it, they removed them on their side as well, which is nice. So now I think you'll find that the majority of them are gone. But
Great.
Those you'll see there are pretty well fuzzy. There are some nice ferns along the backside, just inside the tree line where it gets a little bit of shade. And there's a lot of normal grasses there as well, but it's mostly, I would say, things like goldenrods.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And our plan is to file that request for certificate of compliance relatively soon, but we wanted to seek your opinion before we did that.
So if we could finish the thought, I think Commissioner Lonis was on a road, and I was just trying to finish that road. You had said at the beginning there, you went down Shaker Glen, it was at 65%, and then your answer to Mr. Lonis is currently now you think it's more around 80%. What was your goal to begin with? What was the regional goal? Would you say, is it 70%, is it 75?
I would say that this is a unique project insofar as we didn't propose one and you didn't imply one. Typically, when we have our mitigation sites, the most common standard I see is 80%.
Is 80?
80% survival. But that 80% survival is 80% survival after like a second growing season.
Yeah.
And then, I'll be honest, you don't often keep that 80%. It goes down after that.
Yeah.
I think you've got stable species and you'll stay in that range. I don't think you're going to see, you're not going to lose another 60 shrubs next year. Now, if we don't get a drop of rain from now until eternity, things could change. But I think where we are right now is a pretty stable situation. 80% is a common standard, though that is largely a standard for wetland mitigation areas, which is what I'm most familiar with. Upland habitat plantings, honestly, I don't know that I've had a project that's had a survivability requirement.
So you pretty much met your goal.
I believe we have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I just have one question, so thanks very much for doing all this work. Much of this all came to be before I was on the commission, so a lot of this is new to me, but I really like what I'm seeing, especially in this area right here. And I do kind of sympathize with you what Mass DOT did to it. There's a lot of work that went into it that got kind of taken out. My only question is, so you feel, I'm just looking at the Shaker Glen piece, so you feel as though we have about 80% that's viable up there right now?
Right. After last September's replanting, about 80% of what was planted plus what was replanted remains alive. Yes, sir.
Okay. So once you have the cert, does Eversource ever come back and look at that again or monitor it at some interval just to see how well that planting continues to be? Like, it's 80% today, do you come back in 3 years and look at it and say, well, gee, you know, it's still 80%, so we've done a really great job here. It's, what we've done is really holding, or did it drop to 40%? And you use that information as something that you can go back as, almost as a lesson learned, and be able to readjust.
I would say, honestly, only coincidentally. I started doing work in 1992, and I've looked at a lot of my old mitigation sites, mostly wetlands, but some riparian buffer zone plantings as well. One of the ones I worked on was in the Merrimack River in Haverhill, which was one of my first ones I did. And that happened in 1992 and 93, and I've been back there probably half a dozen times. My parents live there, so it's easy for me to stop by. So realistically, honestly, no, we don't have like a 5 or 10 year check-in. I do think there is an inherent assumption that the risk is contained in 12, 18, 24 months. And that by the time you've reached that, if it's survived then, it's likely to continue to survive. I think that is a reasonable built-in inherent assumption. But also as a conservation commissioner, I recognize that, you know, applicants are not all the same, but trying to get an applicant to even close out an order, never mind, you know, monitor for 5 or 10 years, is probably not realistic. I will say that the coincidental element, though, is meaningful. I think you see people who take pride in their work and want to know what's happened. We also need like qualifications. When I sell my work, I want to be able to say, we did this replanting at Shaker Glen, and here's this photo taken 4 years out, and I'll go back to look at it for that purpose. I mean, it's self-serving, it's marketing, but it's not because I don't care, it's because I do. So there's that element of it. But yeah, the longer term stuff can be challenging from a regulatory perspective, at least to enforce.
Well, just so thank you for that. And I do like it from a risk perspective. If the real risk is within, let's say, 24 to 36 months, and you've met a threshold in that 24 to 36 month range, great. That means that all the risk was already assumed in that period, and now we probably have good performance or good growth going forward. I'll only say this, that folks that you met up at Shaker Glen are going to be there forever and ever and ever, and so you know that there's going to be a lot of eyes on that.
Yes.
And if anything does sort of go south, we'll certainly hear about it.
Yeah, I expect I'll hear from them as well. I gave out about 20 business cards to everybody that was following around. I said, call me anytime. And then as we were driving away, my colleague said, should you have given all those people your phone number? Well, what's the worst thing they can do? Ask me about it.
Well, thank you very much.
No, thank you. Appreciate your help.
Anybody else from the commission? I guess I can conclude by saying I haven't heard anything negative. I hope we've been able to provide some information that is useful to you. Unless you have any other specific questions.
I was going to say, is that your wonderful dog?
That was one we had quite some time ago. My wife rescues pit bulls. We've had many over our lifetime, and mastiffs, larger, scary dog as I call them. But yeah, that was
that guy didn't look too scary.
Yeah. That one was the least scary dog on earth. I will tell you that. But thank you for all that. I really do appreciate it. It informs us going forward for our CLC filing. We'll put together something competent that clearly lays out the long history of this project and meeting the many other performance standards that were also required as well that many people may have forgotten about or before you're on the commission. But you know, we have a full order. We'll depict compliance, not just with this element of it, but all the others, of which there were many. So,
great, thank you.
Thank you for support for more than 10 years now on this.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Good job.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work.
Thanks for being patient, being at the tail end.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Nice to meet you all.
Can I have your business card?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
If you have any input on that other subject you heard, give us a call.
I have run into that situation. But my situation with the ORW, twofold. One, I ran into a very similar situation in Boxford, Massachusetts, long ago. I didn't fight it. it's an unfightable argument in some ways. So we just went along with it because it didn't hurt our project. I had another project recently for National Grid in Mendon with a similar situation where we didn't have a stormwater discharge. And we knew we were in a watershed of a warm water Class B pond mapped as an ORW, and we just simply listed it. We got our 401 water quality certificate, which we wouldn't have otherwise needed, and went forward because it's such a tough situation to deal with. I don't know that we all have the same opinion on it, but you know, I have found, and your applicant, your reviewer mentioned it. You know, Pam Merrill and the folks at DEP are also close friends of mine, and they're probably close friends of yours, and they are helpful, and they will provide guidance, and they have an obligation as state representatives to not get overly involved in ongoing matters. But in this case, they can give you some input, and ultimately DEP water quality staff can provide a formal opinion if you have the patience to wait for it, and most applicants won't. It's just the way it goes. You know, waiting a year for an opinion on the status of a waterway in the nature of today's world is probably not a reasonable ask from them. So it's tough. It's tough. It's not simple. So I wish you luck with that one.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, moving on, file request. Site 1, landscape supply, locus is 31 6th Road, DEP number 348-0899. Request for a certificate of compliance. I think everybody at some point went out and did a site walk. Jerry and I went out the other day. Steve, I'm sure you're happy with the snow storage signs.
Plenty of them.
I am not only happy, I'm exasperated, and I actually sat there and I counted them. So I am shocked and amazed because it exceeds all expectations. But when I drove away, I said, if you ask, you can get it. It's a deterrent. So I think that asking and putting out there is effective. They obviously hit the ball out of the park more than expectation. The other part, other than the signing, and yes, I did get a kick out of the signs, I just found as an oddity. It has nothing to do with this. It's not going to hold it up. It's just a comment. Why ain't paving just a strip? What? It's like having a skunk thing down the middle of your head. What? I just found it odd. I just found it odd.
I agree.
Yeah, it was
Anyways,
interesting.
it looked odd. But yes, I did
went
notice
out-
the signs.
I went out there and inspected that site too, and I had the same thought. Why did we just pave this section at the top? It was really nice.
Yeah.
They put in the crosswalk
Yeah.
sign, right? All the snow signs are there. And I looked for the place where, on the plan originally where they had snow storage, there wasn't any snow storage there against the building, so I was happy.
All right,
But I was
well,
really
that-
happy with the riprap.
That was the
Yeah,
thing
that
I
was
wanted to
pretty
bring
good.
up, the snow storage, because I came in late on this, but this was one of the things that I had asked. And they said they were gonna store the snow up against the building, and if that got too large, they were gonna go around back where the fenced-in area is. Well, that fenced-in area is full
Full.
of equipment,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
no place for snow storage in there. And my question to all of this, on the building, was there supposed to be a sign saying snow storage?
I don't recall
I
that.
recall that.
Okay, okay, then then
It's
in that
interesting.
case, I don't have any problem with the site, I thought it looked pretty good.
Same here.
The railing around the riprap is solid as can be. So it'd be my suggestion that we issue the certificate of compliance.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Just sign it.
There you go.
All right, moving on. Business items. We have the minutes of July 16th, 2026 as drafted, and don't think I found anything. Any discussion, any comments?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the meeting minutes of July 16th, 2026 as drafted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, let me jump down to C, and then we'll come back to site visits. We need to ratify emergency certification out at 57 Winter Street. I got a call, and one of the last homes in Woburn that is getting off of septics and going on to sewerage. I called Jim, and Jim and I went out and looked, and I wish every time we got called out it was as simple as this, because it was really just a trench from the house to the middle of the backyard, and that was it. We asked the homeowner to put a couple of erosion controls around where the connection was going to be made, and that was that. So, Jim, unless you have anything to add to it, like I said, it was pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Again, I wish everything that we get called out to look at was that simple.
I think absolutely agree 100%. I think the thing that really was surprising to us was when we were told what the scope of the work was, we said, "You mean that's it?" And it just didn't, it was so easy.
Yep, it was.
So I have no issue whatsoever.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we ratify the emergency certification.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Oh, right, I did.
Another signature, wow, we're signing.
It was a while ago.
Oh, I'm in a different spot. Different form, right? Same.
We already
Not-
signed.
It's never
We
the
already
same.
signed it. I remember that now.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least, under business items, scheduled site visits. I know there was a tree request, and for some reason, that piece of paper did not make my briefcase. So I would refer to someone that does have the tree request to,
Mr. Chairman, I have the tree request. If we want to do a site visit, we can. It looks like the tree. The only question for me would be, is the tree on our property or is the tree on the homeowner's property?
all right, well, we can certainly contingent the motion to cut the tree as long as it's on their property.
Well, I think the homeowner, if it's on our property and it's deemed to be a safety issue, that we should reach out to the DPW to have them. So I have no problem getting out there tomorrow and taking a peek at it. It looks like it. If it's not going to fall on the house or on the property, then you can just leave it. But if it is a safety issue, then we can take it down. Somebody can take it down.
Yeah, there's
What's
no
the address?
The picture
It's
doesn't
20
really
Lexington
reference
Street.
how
Right
close
next-
it
Wait a
is.
second, it's
Right
right
next
next
to
door to me.
Yes.
You recognize that tree?
I do not. I saw that picture in there and I said, what the heck, did this come from like 2 years ago or something like that? Because I don't even know what's going on.
So, like I said,
I feel like it's on city land. To be honest with you, when I glanced at it, assuming that maybe it was 20 Lexington Street and I wasn't dreaming, I don't even think I think your question is valid. Is it even on our property?
yeah, I mean, I'd like to pop over there and see whose property it's on and if it is actually a safety concern. I mean, it might be a concern, but is it a valid concern, I guess?
I
So-
cannot go in the morning, but I will be around tomorrow at some point in the later morning and afternoon.
Okay, 11 o'clock?
11 should work for me.
11 tomorrow
But I
morning?
can call.
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty cut and dry. It's just a question of whose property it's on and whether it's a,
It's 20 Lexington?
yes.
Okay. So we'll meet there at
That-
11?
That's the one on the left or the right? The right. It's on
Depends on
the
which way
Griffiths.
you're going.
That-
Depends on which way you're going.
Okay.
It's not the,
No, I mean,
it's
that's
not
where
the
the two
Gately home
houses
to
are
the
next to
right of
each
my
other.
house. At my front door on the right of the house is the Gately's, right? It's to the left of the house, Griffiths is, and we went there for a shed about a year ago.
Okay. Yeah, that's not the two next to each other then? No, anyway.
Oh, it's very confusing to me.
Do we have any other sites that we need to look at?
I don't
I
have
think we
any.
have-
You have any?
No, I think we're,
Okay, great.
So with that said,
Do we want to, if we could, do we, just for other business and everything like that, this is the end here, I'm sorry, I was napping here, I'm still stuck on this 20 Lexington Street thing, and I apologize for that. So, my understanding is that Mr. Joyce and Mr. Lonis had concerns about two bridges and did a presentation on the bridges and did it very thorough. And thank you, I did get an email, I have got the information, I looked at it. I have received recently more than a half a dozen people up in arms about the O'Connor Bridge, and when you go over the O'Connor Bridge and take the left, the bridge that's within 100 yards there on the left. And I've received, it has been a lot lately, a lot.
That one's hurting.
So, speaking of hurting, I like to put everything on a scale of 1 to 10 of how bad it is, right? It's above, both of them are above a 5, both the safety issues. I think the smaller of the two bridges, it's probably a category 8. Someone's gonna get hurt. I think it's real bad. And on the matter of the O'Connor Bridge, even though it's lesser of a concern, I think it's still above a 5. I think it's more like a 7. And by the way, I even took pictures of both today, and I purposely took a picture of the thing that says the O'Connor Bridge. 1997 it was built. So already it's been there forever. It's just, just on age alone, it's an issue. And then, of course, we know the utility truck went over and it got dams and all that. We don't have to go through all that. I think there are issues. So I would like to propose we resurrect it and we team up, 3 of us or whatever like that, and whoever else, and everybody's welcome to come on it. And we get on and we take the head of the DPW down there and we try to resurrect it, because someone's gonna get hurt.
That's my question, is how, who, are we responsible for the bridges?
Probably, I don't know there's a conservation. I mean, Teresa could tell better than me, but I don't know that it's a
I
conservation.
mean, some of
I
those
think it's a
bridges
city
were,
issue.
some of them were built on Conservation Day, way down further, the other ones further
Yeah.
down. But I'm curious, because it's gonna be an ongoing maintenance, obviously, and some of those do really, really need to be repaired.
Yeah, I think it needs to be dealt with, whether it's a conservation issue or not. I don't have an opinion on it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's, at least that, the smaller one, for sure.
And
Smaller one
those,
would be Mayday.
those are pretty big deals, I think. I don't know that they would fall into they might under a scout project or something like that, but not all of them, and some of them are a little big and require some structural, some.
So those are the discussions we're gonna end up having. We're gonna go Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. Plan A is we go to the Eagle Scouts, Plan B is we go to the 3 vocational schools around here, and Plan C is direct to DPW or like that. But we'll come up with the plans.
Well,
But regardless of what we pick, like the Eagle Scouts or the schools or whatever, engineering here is gonna have to get involved, because they're gonna have to be engineered. I'm convinced of that, and I've received feedback that other people are convinced of that as well. I think it's gonna have to have engineering involvement in it,
Most likely.
regardless of who does the actual work.
Yeah, whoever, someone has to oversee that and say,
Yes,
yeah, and bless it.
absolutely.
And, I mean, like, that has the engineering.
1997, it was the Eagle Scouts, but that was an exceptional individual. It was a different time, it was a different era and all that.
Same thing with the ones in the Shaker Glen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was Eagle Scout as well, is that what you mean?
They're in
Yeah.
tough shape as well.
Oh, in tough shape, meaning in tough shape. Well, I think that we start here, and then we don't stop. They have to prioritize. Whoever we find does own it. Once we get the owner, then all the bridges get listed down, including Shaker Glen, and then they put it in a priority. And my gut is the smaller of the two I just discussed is probably gonna be numero uno, numero dos will be O'Connor, and then the other ones will fall in line. But there's probably a lot that have to be replaced. But that one is a mayday, mayday.
Yeah. Well, we had, like, wasn't there a vocational school or something like that that we had look at it before?
We did, we had Northeast come out.
Yeah, and I don't know where that.
We had connections at Shawshene. We might be able to reach out to them as well, but we'll have to work on connections. But
We had Northeast Vocational Tech come out twice.
Right.
yeah,
And they declined both times.
Okay, it was
And the
declined.
most
I couldn't-
recent
I
was in
couldn't remember.
2024.
Yeah, it wasn't that long. I thought so.
Yeah, 2024, there was a whole team
Yep.
that came out from Northeast, and they looked it over, and
They even took measurements.
took measurements, they had a plan, but they couldn't fit it into their schedule.
right.
And it was, they were talking about a year out that it could be replaced, but it just never came to fruition. That doesn't mean that sitting here today,
That the
we
same
can't go
group-
down that road again.
Yeah, with them.
Right.
And my guess is that we would probably put a standard package together and say, here's what the ask is, and it goes to Northeast, and it goes to Shawshene, it goes to Minuteman, and like that.
Send it out for bids, just like you would
Send it
for
out to bid and say, is we got any interest at all, and see what happens. But I think that we're not gonna solve the problem here, but we are gonna start the conversation of teaming up, and everyone's welcome to jump in the pie together, team or whatever, and go down there, but we gotta get something going. Something bad's gonna happen. I'm convinced of it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Anything else? Hearing none?
Hearing none, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?